SCHD can't stop breaking its own records. It paid yet another all-time high for the fourth quarter dividend in 2024. It broke the previous fourth quarter record by a very nice 6.9%. And this was the 7th consecutive fourth quarter increase. But this wasn't just a single quarter thing. SCHD has now increased the year-over-year dividend payments for the 13th consecutive year. And yes, that is every year that it has existed, if you're wondering. That's right, it has never paid less than it did the year before. Not once in its history. In this video, we'll look at that comprehensive dividend history, along with an example that you won't believe. This information will make the SCHD haters think twice before their next short-term take. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Jeff Teeples, and here we aim to grow your wealth with simple, time-tested solutions. Please tickle that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop me a comment below with anything that comes to mind. We had one new channel member this week. A huge shout out to Eddie Langford. I appreciate you joining the channel membership, and of course, I appreciate all of you that have been here all along. You make this possible. And the last bit of housekeeping here, a quick shout out to my Seeking Alpha affiliate link. If you or a friend are interested in Seeking Alpha Premium, consider using my link in the description below to save you some money and to support the channel. And a huge thank you to everyone that has used that link. They're actually adding up quite nicely. I appreciate it. Okay, you know what time it is. Let's grow. Fourth quarter dividend and the dividend history. Before we dive into the data, remember that SCHD had a 3-for-1 share split a couple months ago. This means that the historical information about SCHD, including dividends paid per share, have been split adjusted. We'll get more into all that when we jump over to the data. SCHD paid a fourth quarter dividend of 26.45 cents per share. This is the second highest payment ever for any quarter. And if you're still used to the pre-split numbers, this is equivalent to a 79.35 cents per share. First, we'll look deeper into the incredible dividend history of SCHD, and then we'll dive into a specific example that shows how crazy this works in reality. We're out here in Seeking Alpha, and you can see I pulled up SCHD, and you'll quickly notice that it's $28.20 per share, and we're used to seeing 70s and 80s over the last few years, and that's that whole 3-for-1 share split. Most key metrics and everything per share basis was divided by 3 because we now have 3 times more shares after the split. So the fundamental data is identical. And I'll save you from the whole rigmarole of the methodology and stuff. It has a fantastic way of selecting 100 blue chip dividend stocks. But I always have to touch quickly on the 6 basis points expense ratio. That's fantastic for what you get here with SCHD. Keep that money in your pocket. And it's up to nearly $66 billion of assets under management. This thing is not going anywhere. And again, we're going to be ultra quick on this because we want to get to those dividends. Its biggest holdings breakdown by sector is the financials at 20%. And then healthcare, consumer, defensive, energy, and industrials go down the ladder from 14, 13, 12, and 11%. And you also have consumer cyclical and technology at 11 and 10%. And as per usual, the top 10 holdings, I won't read them off, but here they are. And you can see that they have reasonable weightings, especially compared to most other ETFs, with the top 10 companies only representing just over 40% of the 100 companies that it holds. Okay, we're on our favorite tab, especially when pertaining to SCHD. We can stop this speed run and take it all in. You can see that the dividend yield for the trailing 12 months, and this has been increasing after the reconstitution in March earlier this year, is up to 3.52%. And that's impressive because the price of SCHD has increased quite a bit this year, not as much as the market, but the yield has also increased, and that's a testament to that reshuffle. But the trailing 12-month dividend growth rate, this means this year versus last year, it paid over 12% more. This is equivalent to what you compare to inflation or your raise at work. And I think this is going to beat both of those most years. Its 3-year compound annual growth rate is 10%. Over the last 5 years, it's grown its dividends at 11.6% per year. And it has sustained an impressive 11% 10-year dividend growth rate. Not many other ETFs do that over a full full decade. And this is the part I love. If you watch my videos a lot, this has said 12 for, well, 12 months now. And we got that official fourth quarter dividend and it bumped it up to 13. So once again, it has 13 years in a row of dividend growth and 13 years of paying a dividend because it's been around, drum roll, 13 years. Thing's been a warrior every single year. But out here on the dividend growth tab in Seeking Alpha, we're gonna take a deeper look of what this looks like, and our spreadsheet with a specific example will help this set in to what it really means when you invest in SCHD. But in graph form here, I'm on the 10-year growth. 2014 paid 35 cents of dividends, and then 38 cents and 15, 42 cents, 45, 48, 57, pretty steady growth, 68 cents, 75, 85 cents in 2022, 89 cents. So comparing 2023 to 2022 was the smallest growth in its history, and we'll get more into that later. But then we went from 89 cents in 23, and this isn't updated yet, but we'll just scroll down to the table form, up to nearly $1, 99.4 cents per share. And you can see right here, annual payout growth year over year, that was a 12% growth. Last year was its lowest growing year in SCHD history at 3.77%. But you can see it's usually double digits, or at least in the sixes or nines somewhere. And we'll jump more into this in the spreadsheets, but just imagine yourself owning one share of SCHD. It gives you 4 cents in 2011. That was a partial year. Then you get 27 cents, 30 cents for the year in 13. And you could see that you go up over 3 times just 12 years later at 99 cents. And I wanted to quickly touch on the dividend payout history. And this is where we see that share split come into play. So you'll probably remember the last dividend before the fourth quarter in the third quarter of 2024 was 75 cents. So it might have been alarming when you saw a dividend of 26 cents. You thought, oh, great work, SCHD. But as you can see, this adjusted amount after the share split, where we all received 3 times more SCHD. If you owned 1,000 of them, the next day you own 3,000 of them. So naturally, each one's worth a third. So this adjusted amount is what you'll see out online, and when you look deep into data, everything is split adjusted, and it always will be moving forward. So they still have the raw numbers out here in Seeking Alpha, and some platforms keep the old actuals, but it's adjusted them to 1/3 the amount so you can compare moving forward. You can see that 26.45 cents per share was the second highest in history. Q2 this year was higher at 27.47 cents. Okay, I'm out on the spreadsheet. It's called Retire on SCHD, and it's out there for free if you're interested in looking at the spreadsheet. This is just the data entry tab, so it's a little ugly. We'll get over to the pretty part here soon, but I just wanted to show some high-level metrics on SCHD. So you can see here's the recent dividend. The ex-dividend date was the 11th of December, and it was paid on 12/16, and there's that 26.45 per share. So what I've done here, all the bold ones are the fourth quarter, so you can easily check with your eyes that yes, it is the biggest fourth quarter dividend ever by a decent amount. And what I do is I carry down the CAGRs. I actually use this to audit Seeking Alpha and other sites online, just to make sure, because sometimes their figures get messed up. But I have the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10-year CAGR. And I've recently added CAGR since inception. This is kind of cool. Like, for example, last year, we were only up 3.77% compared to 2022 on our 1 year CAGR, and people were really down on SCHD. And I got lots of comments. You can go check, you can audit me, that's saying like, there's no way it's even over 6 moving forward. And at the time I was like, you guys, relax. Look at the last few full years, not just any random quarter over quarter. And we're double digits when we go back to history. Even at worst, we're almost 7 and then 9. This is just year over year growth. So 1 year of 3.77 and everyone's like, that's it, we're done, abort mission. And I don't think it's always gonna be 12.23. So again, I was saying don't get too low last year, don't get too high this year. 12.23 is an amazing 1 year dividend CAGR, and since inception, it's up 11.48%. Now remember, using the rule of 72, you divide 72 divided by 11.48 is how many years it will take SCHD to double its dividend per share without reinvesting. So every 6.27 years, you've doubled your money per share. And I know that feels fake, let's just see what that looks like. And now this is a separate video every year, and I'll make it in the near future, so I won't go too into detail. I'm kind of stealing from my other video spreadsheet, but this person retired at the end of 13 with $500,000, and they dumped it all into SCHD. At the time, split adjusted, remember, it was $9.45 per share. Today, it's $28.19, and this will change a little. That's why I have it yellow. At the end of the year, the last day of December, I'll lock it in. These are all the last days of the year. So you can see the price appreciation has been really good historically. We've tripled in these 12 years. So, but then you look at the dividend per share, similar story, but we've almost quadrupled. We went from 27 cents a share in 2012 to 99 cents a share in 2024. So what's the purpose of this? Well, first of all, it cleans up the year over year growth. And here's that one we were all down on last year. And now we're pretty high. We're higher than normal. The average, as we saw earlier, was 11.5%, which is unheard of. I mean, it's pretty incredible for an ETF. It's wild. I love this methodology. But let's just see what that looks like. The year they retired, they got, and it was in 2013. I just had 12 out here to get some year over year data. If you look, these dividends only start in 13, but they were making almost $16,000 a year without reinvesting a single penny in SCHD. They're blowing all this and having fun. Just think about this. In about a decade, you go from $16,000 to $53,000. You've done nothing, and you haven't reinvested the dividends. That's the power, not only of price growth, but strictly looking at the power of dividend compound. Remember that rule of 72? 72 divided by your yearly rate of return is how long it takes to double. But we're talking massive cash flow. Yes, there's inflation, but this obliterates inflation. And remember, we're not even talking about the fact that they've made $1 million on price alone. Like just those same shares, they're 500,000 if it's not been added to, and they're at 1.5 million. So that's in addition to this cash flow. This cash is being spent and blown on all kinds of weird, kinky things in retirement. I don't know what they do, but they've made $1 million that they actually have right now. They could sell for 1.5 million. They haven't had to sell a single share to produce this. SCHD is a fantastic holding for building and retaining wealth. But remember, relax and enjoy the ride. Dividend growth investors are feeling like we're on top of the world right now with SCHD. But let's turn back the hands of time by just a single year. There were a lot of SCHD haters last December. It had come off a year where it underperformed the S&P 500 in total returns by a pretty wide margin, and it increased its dividends by a mere 3.8% in 2023. This was an all-time low for a dividend increase in a single year. The news and articles about SCHD are no different than they are for any other investment. Investors commonly groupthink themselves into fear or greed based on what the masses are doing. And the masses are knee-jerk reacting to the latest predictions and price movements and sentiment. The concept of the reversion to the mean doesn't resonate with the typical investor. And I don't say this next one to be funny, but doing the opposite is usually the right move. Investors naturally buy high and sell low because they're making the popular moves like everyone else. Following the long-term data trends will get you to where you need to be as an investor. You'll learn what happens with your different type of holdings in a variety of market situations over the years. Stick to those target allocations and buy the comparative dip within your well-thought-out portfolio. For example, when your growth holding VGT crashes, and it will, you'll buy more VGT to get it back up to its target allocation within your portfolio mix. And when SCHD has a couple bad years by comparison, like it has lately, you'll buy SCHD to get it back up to its target allocation. You'll have your holdings in balance based on your long-term goals. Remember, as an accumulator of shares, you'll want as many of those shares per dollar that you spend. When everyone else is getting crazy and emotional, stick to your system. Stay the course. Thanks for watching, and one more thing. Congratulations if you're a longtime holder of SCHD. Check out one of these two videos if you want to continue down your path towards financial freedom. Remember, money is overrated. Freedom is not. Thanks for watching, and I will see you here in the next one. Peace.